Open communication between an adult and child is key. And sometimes the best approach is context specific. Even though the water bottle example that I chose to use in this conversation of passive aggressive behavior might seem silly and frivolous, I chose it with intention to highlight how even seemingly minor interactions can create confusion for the child. Because here's the thing, like I said in my last video, the one that this comment is attached to, each child's temperament is different. Something that seems like a small annoyance to us can and sometimes is a big deal to them. The work that I do with the parents who are ready and open and willing to evolve their parenting style is all about being sensitive to the child's inner landscape and finding ways to effectively communicate with them. So I understand why you think that the water bottle example is a bit extreme and a bit maybe ridiculous. Like you further went on to say in your messages, my core points were spot on. I just use an example that is more subtle and covert. And again, I did that with intention because it highlights the thoughts, the beliefs, and the actions that are supporting those interactions. So maybe next time I could give a wider example of what passive aggressive behavior looks like, especially in the classroom, because it can be sneaky. It can range from minor interactions to more pointed digs. It could look like a backhanded compliment. Wow, you really cleaned your room. Like, that's surprising. In that example, the praise that was offered can feel insecure and ingenuine to the child. It can also look like the silent treatment, which is withdrawing affection or attention and refusing to speak or sometimes even look at the child, leaving the child to feel confused and guilty. It could also be an outright guilt trip. Statements like, I guess I'll just do it by myself, like the little red hen did. This communication can inadvertently make the child feel responsible for the adult's frustration. And finally, it could also look like being the busy parent, which is constantly being too busy to address the concerns that the child's bringing up. It sounds like, oh, just wait until you have to pay taxes. Then you'll really know what a problem is. Children are like sponges, and they're constantly observing, interpreting, and soaking in their environments and interactions. And through those observations, habits begin to form. And those habits get reinforced through interactions, and then they carry and develop those habits into adulthood, and thus the cycle continues. So even though these behaviors can start subtly, they can grow and have a bigger impact later on down the road. Think about it this way. If a child is interacting with a caregiver that is constantly sighing when they're frustrated, like, instead of learning how to directly address frustration and problem solve a solution, they may start to learn just bottle up the emotions, which can lead to having more difficult communication down the road. And it removes the opportunities to learn conflict resolution skills. The majority of our communication is nonverbal. It's not what you say, but how you say it. I have a whole podcast episode on this. The most important takeaway from this conversation, which is the thing that we both can agree on, is that we want to raise happy and healthy and safe communicators. So let me ask you, Foxy Fucker, as someone who has experience in the classroom, what are examples of teachers being passive aggressive to children that you've witnessed? I too had over 14 years experience in the classroom, and I have witnessed it in many overt and covert situations. I want to open up more conversations like this where we can really find out where our blind spots are so that again we can evolve and grow and do better. So if you're listening now and you're ready to step into spaces and learn how to implement the clear method and stop using passive aggressive tools in your parenting, I encourage you to head over to my bio link and get started today.